Hello and welcome to Sorare TV. Today's community choice video comes to us from Ron Royale Sorare. He's asking us the pros and cons of limited versus rare for next season, given the goalkeeper situation. As of August, we won't have common goalkeepers participating in rare competitions for the foreseeable future, which removes that ETH grinding, that ETH bashing element for those budget players who are straddling between the limited and the rare competitions. So this fork in the road that's going to open up, a lot of people are sitting on the fence and wondering, what's the best move for me? What's the best move for my gallery? Of course, there's no universal answer. So a pros and cons list sounds absolutely fantastic to me. I've made a little list for each of them. I'd love to know in the comment section down below anything you would add into these lists, and overall, what list you think outweighs the other. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff. Stay out of trouble, and let's get stuck into it. So I think we can start with the limiteds and we can knock away the obvious ones quite easily and quite quickly. Of course, it's much cheaper to get involved in limiteds, whether we're talking about premium end players, just general really high quality goalkeepers, up and coming youth prospects, or your run of the mill filler guys that maybe have a preferable fixture or an attractive L15. It's a very liquid section of the market, you know, where a lot of people are trading in and out of positions on the movements on ETH as well as L15s and L5s, upcoming game weeks fixtures, suspected transfers, return from injuries, all this kind of stuff is very vibrant in the limited market. It's very, very liquid, and it's very easy to get your hands on a really good deal for a really good player if you play your cards right and you do your own research. Because overall, like a gallery that's fully built of limited cards will be much cheaper. The financial pressure and the game week to game week pressure for success and for winning and for yield and whatever is greatly lessened, and it's a much more pleasurable experience for the armchair fan, for the passive user, for the guy that just wants to get a couple of Bayern guys and an Inter Milan guy and just go and watch the football at the weekend and have something riding on it. Because it is the newest scarcity, it's definitely the one for me that has the most room for growth. And when you look at all the recent innovations we've had to the SO5 arena with the specialist and the underdog and even the legends and some of the goalkeeper stuff that's been going on, it's all been centered around the utility of limiteds and expanding that. And I think that's something that's been right in the center of the drawing board for Sorare for the last like 4 or 5 months when it comes to the revamps that we would be expecting in the next iteration of the SO5 arena, the prize rewards, the division structures, all that kind of thing. And with those recent iterations, we now with limiteds have the ability to actually win rares. So even if you are like really tightly on the fence between the two of them, because if you have good enough limiteds, certainly that you can build a backbone of a specialist team around, because the underdog cards will always be interchanging almost, but if you can have like 3 guys that are elite to kind of build around, then you could be winning rares with your limited cards quite feasibly. We've seen it done on budget, on all sorts of budgets really already in the limited specialist competition. And limited is definitely the scarcity for me, along probably with super rares, and you know, probably the least amount with rares is probably the easiest way of saying it, that really does reward the time invested into researching versus the size of your wallet. Because knowing the manager situation, knowing the transfer situation, or what academy this guy's came out of, all this kind of stuff, you can pick up guys that are severely underpriced, because in the limited market, because it is so liquid, some of these guys can be slept on. But whereas in comparison with rares, a lot of people that do this research will pick up a rare, because the amount of people that are the type of people that would do that research are typically most often in the rare market, because the rare market is still very much the crux of, you know, the main gameplay in terms of the most competitive users. So in the limited market, some of these guys can be undervalued by comparison. Now the cons for sticking with the limited only, and that's what I must stress at this point, because it is the fork in the road, it's if you pick this road or that road, is limiteds are very volatile. You know, I've seen on a recent video I did with Laird on the main channel that I always expected the price of limiteds to slope out, you know, from inception to as it goes, because like I've always said, with limiteds, it's not a scarcity that is required for even still almost the current user base, especially when they were introduced back when there was around 20,000 users with one card or more. Now obviously we're over 100,000 and climbing. So especially once we get around to August and September and we've got all new season limiteds on top of the existing issuance that we're going to get from the remaining seasons. We've never, you know, limiteds every day is new territory in terms of market charts and being able to gather historic data to be able to do projections and forecasts. So it is very volatile and very unknown in that respect. From an SO5 perspective, the biggest con is it's very crowded as well. You know, there's thousands and tens of thousands of entries into limited, and you know, the margins that define success and failure are so tight, so small. It can feel futile sometimes. And like I kind of alluded to in the pros section, sometimes it can be a little bit too liquid, you know, when there is readily available, you know, supply for the market at all stages. Some things do get a ceiling on them quite quickly for how expensive they can become, and if capital appreciation is a big part of how you expect to play the game, yes, capital appreciation will always take some sort of form on the platform because of the way that, you know, some of the competitions work, promoting L15s and that kind of thing, as well as real world developments like a guy getting promoted from backup keeper to first choice, or, you know, that sort of thing. But because there's enough of a market out there that can continuously undercut by pounds and pennies, when you're looking to liquidate some assets, if you're looking to withdraw, reinvest, upgrade, whatever, you then can be at the mercy of a very ferocious market where you don't really have the strength and the credibility to hold out for the price and the value that you really desire to fit the time scale that you're looking to actually shift the card out for. That can be frustrating, and that can be something, if you don't plan for properly, you might project you'll be able to sell something in the future for X amount and you won't hit that target, unfortunately, and that can be frustrating and have a chain reaction to other decisions and other plans and other strategies that you may have. And the last one is there's no threshold opportunity, if you like. There's no pay to play or play to earn, play and earn, own your game, all that kind of stuff. There's none of that going on in the limited section. So you're kind of limited to just the SO5, the ETH that's on podium, as well as the special competitions and that kind of thing. Now with rares, to be honest with you, I really did struggle to come up with unique pros against the limited because, you know, by and large they do offer quite a lot. The main pro that the rare divisions offer, of course, and having rare cards is that pay to play, own your game, play to earn, play and earn kind of stuff, because that's what the removal of the common goalkeeper does. Is it now puts a real paywall on that aspect of the game, which really protects the company's ability to pay that out for even longer, really, if you think about it. That feels like it's something that's almost a semi-permanent fixture at this point. The team have alluded to, you know, like they always want to keep things as ambiguous as possible when it comes to the future of payouts and game iterations and that kind of thing. It's definitely something to monitor, but it's not something that will be disappearing anytime soon. You know, wasn't too long ago they were talking about they understand that this is a core mechanic of the game and that, you know, blah, blah, blah. So that's the main pro, of course, of playing the rares. The other one is, the second best one for me, is that real supply and demand market activity that you get for picking somebody out early. You know, like I was saying with limiteds, and again, but there's two sides to the coin, so that's why I really like this pro and cons list kind of aspect for it. But with rares, like if a guy goes good, you do have a good degree of supply and demand that will almost always hold out a real true value for how much, which is one of the other pros, how much utility that rare card can really offer across multiple divisions, up and down, across and lateral and vertical and all that kind of stuff. If you have a backup under 23 goalkeeper, even if there's 150 of them in terms of rares, that's quite, or even if there's 250, which is a lot for a rare, certainly, then even with that being at such a high capacity for supply in the rare market, the demand in the market mechanics are already set in stone with the rare market kind of guarantees you to an extent that will always fall in line with, you know, its counterparts. And the one that you can never forget about, the biggest pro for playing the rares, is that you can win the best prize. The best prizes in the game are star rares, without a shadow of a doubt at this moment in time, for how liquid they are, the amount you can sell them for, how valuable they are to have in terms of future rewards that they can go and help you win, get on podiums and all that kind of stuff. That, you know, not fighting for them would demotivate me. I would always want to have at least some sort of effort into getting the star rares as many game weeks as possible. Now the cons with the rare market, now if you speak to any people who are financially educated, they'll tell you there's no less liquid. There's liquid and there's illiquid. You know, the limited market is very liquid. You can sell things very easily, very quickly, is my experience, with all shapes and sizes of cards, all levels of desirability, all levels of public profile and all sorts of stuff. But in rares, it's much different. Like in rares, and even above that, of course, if a guy's not playing or not useful, like, you know, it is an illiquid market. With liquidity, there's not really much black or white. It's either is or it isn't, and that's a big con for a lot of rare cards. This might sound odd, but you cannot win limiteds. You know, with limiteds being the most liquid market, if you are looking to pull rewards, to sell them into the market and upgrade, you know, if you're looking to kind of grow your team in that respect, then not having the ability to gather limiteds, which are the most liquid item on the platform, is a con. Is it something that might change in the future? Who knows? And probably the biggest one when it comes to competing in rare and rare pro divisions is it is really wallet strength dominated. You know, like to get guaranteed consistency, and I say that even with air quotes because you can't guarantee anything in football, but to get the guys that statistically, historically, law of averages, time and time again, will churn in significant scores that can get you really high up on the leaderboard, they don't come cheap. So in rare competitions, if you want to be competing all the time, it's very similar in limiteds, of course, but in rare and rare pro, it's very much prevalent. You need a strong wallet to be able to compete there. So what do you think, guys? I love both, to be honest with you. If I had to pick one, I would probably pick rares myself. I'm kind of, I've been on rares the whole time I've been on Sorare, so it's kind of my bread and butter in that respect. But I always feel like out of 100 is a great scarcity. I dabble in other collectibles and other things, and yeah, 1 out of 1,000 is a fantastic scarcity for tons of collectibles and whatever. But once it gets to like hundreds and tens, that's when things are really collectible, So for me, the life experiences and the other things that I get real pleasure from playing the game through, that is something that I can't avoid or I can't ignore, So that's something that I definitely put a lot of value in. But I really enjoy the liquidity and the fun that can be had with the limiteds in terms of picking the specialist teams and trying to win rares and trading in and out of Wonder Kids and all that kind of stuff. I absolutely love it, to be honest with you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure to follow Sorare TV on Twitter and watch out for the next community choice tweet that goes out, and it might be your tweet that comes out next Monday. Have a great week, guys, and stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.